Okay, welcome everyone to another show, another series. This time we're into December again, folks. When I'm recording this video, it's 30th of November 2015, nearly in December 2015. That means we're getting close to Christmas time, and that means it's another time for a series. I like to do series coming up to Christmas so that we can count down to Christmas, and this time I'm going to do some movies, movie talk, movie reviews. Last year, just last December, on the countdown to Christmas 2015, I done my show, The Movie Zone Presents the Comedies of the 1980s, and we done 5 different episodes covering everything from the Thanksgiving style movies, the the Christmas movies, the Christmas comedies of the 80s. We covered stuff such as the comedies of Tim Burton, the weird comedies of Tim Burton. We also covered some of the great Michael Keaton comedies, as well as we also covered other kind of like cop comedies, different things. We kind of splashed around the genre of comedy from the 80s and went into the subgenres and kind of explored it all. But I think we covered about 40 films in that series, that 5 episode series. This time we're going to do another series, and the first episode we're going to concentrate on some weird comedies. This time we're calling it The Movie Zone Presents the Retro Reviews of the 80s and 90s, and episode 1 will be weird comedies, and kind of comedies that aren't your usual run-of-the-mill comedies. The first 6 will be on tonight's show. It is, of course, episode 1, weird comedies, and it involves some animals. These comedies involve animals, and they involve swap-overs, and one of them involves a haunted house, or kind of a weird house or mansion. So it's a very, very, very interesting concepts. These movies are kind of out there. They aren't your usual idea, kind of your usual format of a film or of a Hollywood blockbuster. They're kind of more eccentric and out there and geeky kind of ideas, I suppose. But they were very funny. And the 80s and 90s I thought were very... it's probably because I was growing up and I was more of an influential age, but that's what, of course, looking back and nostalgia does to you. I suppose you look back with rose-tinted glasses and you look back on more nostalgia and stuff. But I think the films that I've chosen for episode 1, and some of the ones I've chosen for the next 5 episodes, it's going to be a 6 episode series, this one, and some of the stuff is very, very good, and it's like, there is enough great comedies and great films out there that wouldn't make another series, because there was so many in the 80s and the 90s, but we're concentrating mainly on 80s. There's going to be a few 90s films sprinkled in as well in this series, but it was a great time for comedy. A lot more simpler comedy back then, but a lot more effective. Simple is good, more effective at times. We're going to cover such films such as Nothing But Trouble tonight. We're also going to cover a film called, the first one we're going to cover will be Gone Fishing. And then we're also going to touch on films involving dogs, and we're also going to touch on films with swap overs as well, which is going to be fun. But the first one is going to be a film called Gone Fishing, and this one stars Joe Pesci and Danny Glover. And you will know, of course, Joe Pesci from his films such as Goodfellas and the Home Alone series, but he actually starred with Danny Glover in the Lethal Weapon series, and that series, of course, featured Mel Gibson as well, along with Rene Russo and Patsy Kensit and different people. But these films that he was in with, that's really made a name for him, probably would be the Lethal Weapon series. And then, well, he was in other stuff like the Once Upon a Time in Once Upon a Time in America, and he was in stuff like A Bronx Tale, and I think he was in Raging Bull as well with Robert De Niro. but he's done a lot of stuff with Martin Scorsese. But his more comedic roles have been with the likes of Richard Donner in the Lethal Weapon series, and of course working with the director, of course, of this film, which is Christopher Kane, and of course Danny Glover, the co-star. Most reviews of this film, actually, they have given this one a 5 out of 10. It wasn't the biggest grossing movie, wasn't the biggest deal made about this one. It was kind of like a side project for these guys, probably when they were working on Lethal Weapon 4 which was out in '98. Of course, Gone Fishing, this movie we're going to talk about, was out in 1997. It was written by Jill Mazursky and J.J. Abrams, who went on to become a massive name for himself. He's of course currently at the helm of the Star Trek movies. Joe Pesci, Danny Glover, Rosanna Arquette also features in this one. She of course was hot off the heels of the films such as Pulp Fiction and Deep Impact at this stage, so she had a blooming career, but she didn't really become such a big name after this. Maybe a few big films, but she's currently working on a Netflix series, I believe, so she's still doing alright, but more TV work, you could say, than film work. Also in this film features such stars as Lynn Whitfield and Willie Nelson, the country music star, makes an appearance in this one as well. He, of course, we know has been in a lot of stuff over the years, a lot of movies, along with, of course, his buddies from the Highwaymen, Chris Christopherson, Johnny Cash, and also Waylon Jennings. But he definitely is a big name, and he's such a household name, if you like. He would make a good impact in movies, so he makes an appearance in this as well. Also making an appearance in this one is Carol Kane, who made her name. She was in films such as Scrooge along with Bill Murray, which we talked about last year on the Christmas show, and also she was in other pretty fun films as well. But right now we're going to talk about the storyline of this particular film. It's about two fishing fanatics that get in trouble when their fishing boat gets stolen, and while they're on a trip, and it's very funny. I think I've watched it about 3 times. Pesci's funny anyway, he's always funny, but their names in this film are Joe and Gus, and there's a hurricane while all this is happening as well, and it's very, it's something you need to watch because it's just very funny with the one-liners from Pesci and Glover. They take their characters over from Lethal Weapon as well. It really is just getting the same characters and putting them into a different film and a different environment where they're not cops, they're actually buddies going fishing and stuff. It's a lot of fun. Gone Fishing. Well, let's get a clip of this one, if we can get the trailer here for you. Alright, here it is.
We got the boat?
Check.
Beer, gear, Dramamine?
Check.
We gone fishing!
For Joe and Gus,
We go fishing!
fishing is their life.
Hey, Joe!
Everything else is a detail. So with a 4-day vacation,
It's gonna be a 10.
10 plus. Borderline 11. Slide.
a full tank of gas, and a case of cold beer, nothing, absolutely nothing, will stand between them and their dream.
Hey, Gus! Yeah. Just like a ride!
Train!
Caravan Pictures invites you
You guys need a ride?
Because, babes.
to come along
Oh, weird.
with Joe Pesci,
That's it? I'm not exactly a little kid, you know. I can drink a full glass.
Danny Glover,
Gosh, you okay? You ain't sleepwalking, are you?
I can see you guys are professional fishermen.
who, with the flick of a wrist,
You two jerks. You're just a pair of kids.
can turn 4 days in paradise into a living hell.
Remember that movie Deliverance?
Oh, I don't want to squeal like a pig.
Gone Fishing. The story of two guys
Spin him around, Gus. I'll hit the...
who can't catch a break.
The truth is, it can't get any worse.
Well, the next one, that was very funny there with, of course, Glover and Pesci and the whole lot in that Gone Fishing. The next one we're going to talk about is a film that was out in 1991. It stars Chevy Chase, Demi Moore, also Dan Aykroyd and John Candy. Four massive stars in Hollywood. Three of the biggest comedy stars you could think of, and then Demi Moore thrown in as well, who was a big deal at the time as well. But four of these big characters, and putting them together in a movie is just blockbuster, spells out blockbuster. Other people in this film, there's a few names. One in particular, I couldn't believe it when I seen it, because I'd only seen this recently for the first time. I think I've watched it twice, but it was something that I wasn't too aware of up until a few years ago, and it's very hard to find. Totally, you have to look. It's like a treasure, this film, and you can't get it in shops over this part of the world at all, in Ireland and or Britain, and it's like, it's available in America, and I actually bought it online recently, and wasn't able to get it any other way. But it really is a great film. I enjoy it because of the simple star power and the simple idea that it has such a great cast, and it's funny. It's funny in its own kind of weird way. It's very kind of Halloween kind of style. It's something you might watch at Halloween, but it's not scary. But it's got that kind of weird kind of vibe to it. With Aykroyd being a kind of old, he's all in prosthetics, and he's got an old kind of old guy look to him, and he's like the lord of the judge of the manor kind of thing, and then these Chevy Chase and Demi Moore are there as tourists, and they've got John Candy with them, and then John Candy is in drag then as his sister and stuff, and it's very funny the way it it is actually very funny altogether. But it also features Vary Broomfield, Taylor Negron, Raymond Barry, along with a few others that aren't really, but Daniel Baldwin makes an appearance as well in this film. But yes, indeed, and of course Daniel Baldwin comes from the famous Baldwin family, of course, which also includes Stephen Baldwin and William Baldwin, and then of course the most successful of them, Alec Baldwin. But yes, indeed, Chevy Chase is probably the go-to character in this one. This is a bit late on in Chase's kind of big film career. He was massive throughout the 80s, and then he became more, he kind of went towards children's movies then, more into the 90s, and kind of faded out a bit, but he's back in a lot of movies, making cameo appearances this last while. He's a lot older now, of course, but he still has that comedy feel to him, and he's on episodes of Saturday Night Live still and stuff, and he's very funny. So yes, indeed, Chevy Chase, and then of course John Candy, funny as ever in this film. One of his probably one of his lesser movies, but definitely a must-see for any fans of them big names from the 80s. Dan Aykroyd, he's very different in this one. He's probably one of the funniest guys for being so bland, and his approach to lines and stuff is so bland in most of his movies, but he's funny at being bland. You know, a lot of actors are very bland, like Keanu Reeves, and they can tend to be boring in some movies. Dan Aykroyd's very bland the way he goes on in movies, but he's funny at it. Do you know what I mean? But very good performances from them all in this one. But it isn't a movie that done well. It kind of flopped in the box office, this particular film. It wasn't appreciated much really by the film going public. It only got a 4.8 out of 10 on the IMDb website, and most of them websites only rated around 4 or 5 out of 10. So it's hard with comedy. It's very hard to impress people. And the storyline is really just a businessman finds that he and his friends are the prisoners of a sadistic judge and his equally odd family in the backwoods of a bizarre mansion. So there you go. Very strange stuff, and it's worth a look anyway. Here's Nothing But Trouble.
Give me the keys, Mike.
Chevy Chase.
Hey, you just passed the Garden State Parkway South.
Don't worry, I'll get you there.
Demi Moore.
Oh, no, cop. Driver, step outside the car, please.
John Candy.
Read 'em? Yeah, that's nice, thanks. The lower back, please. I got an itch right up in there. It's good, thank you.
Not today, sir.
This may be Valkenvania, but it is still America. And wouldn't mind, would you just write a ticket here, or we could settle it some other way, perhaps?
That's not the way things work around here.
What is this place?
Revolving District Court for the Village and Shire of Vulcanvania is now in order. The Honorable Reeve Alvin Vulcanizer presides.
Dan Aykroyd.
Put out that dog rocket!
Nothing But Trouble.
So sorry.
Hey, you know, you and I ought to spend a little more time together.
I'd like that.
Would you?
Welcome to the last resort.
You look pretty this evening, sister. Doing something different with your hair?
Where something's always cooking.
How about a nice Hawaiian punch?
You're some good friends.
Okay, let's eat.
Where someone's always shaken. And anything's better than house policy.
What's house policy? Whatever a man touches, there's one she keeps. What?
All they wanted
Oh, no, wait a minute. I just went through a damn stoplight.
was a little getaway.
I think the two of you'd make a perfect couple.
You make this the bride.
No, not in front of all these people, Your Honor.
Now.
All they got was nothing but trouble.
Yes, indeed, weird stuff, but funny stuff as well. Okay, that was Nothing But Trouble. Now we have two more films that are got a bit of a cold here, folks, so bear with me. The next two films are ones that are very different in their concept. Very similar movies, and funny enough, they were out both in the same year. But it was 1988, and it was two films that really would be, I suppose you could call them a flip-flop generational film. I don't know, that's kind of a subgenre of a subgenre, but it's a comedy, but it's a kind of an eccentric flip-flop comedy, you could call. It's all about they're all about changing ages inside bodies, kind of thing. And the first one is starring Tom Hanks. And Tom Hanks, of course, a legend at this stage in his career, a few films. He was in films such as Splash with John Candy and Daryl Hannah. It was all about the mermaid, of course. And he was in films. He's in a film called The Burbs, which of course also starred. It didn't really star any other big names actually, The Burbs, but it was a very good one. And I seen that a few weeks ago there, and I thought it was very funny and very different. You know, that was something that you would appreciate, because you know there's a lot of these films from the 80s and 90s that are very different from what we see today in Hollywood, and a lot better in some cases, most cases actually. But this film is called Big, the one I'm talking about today, with Tom Hanks, and he was really good at the comedy genre when he was younger. I suppose it was because he was only in his early 20s or whatever at that stage, or mid-20s maybe, or maybe he was older but he looked younger in film or something, I don't know, but I would say he was probably in his mid to late 20s, maybe early 30s at this stage. And he was very, very entertaining as the character in this, and it was all about him making a wish, and the wish was that he would become big. No, sorry, it was all about a young boy making a wish, and he would wish that he would become big, and Tom Hanks is the guy that he is when he's big, if you know what I mean. And it's all about him going around as a 30-year-old in an 8-year-old's body. So it's very, very funny, and it's, you know, that brings up a whole load of different, you know, situations and stuff, and that really play out very, very funny. I know that when I was younger, I remember watching or wanting to watch. It was always on Sky, and I remember I seen that it was on, and I would want to watch it because it was such a funny film, and I would have seen it maybe once or twice, and I'd be on it. And I remember my brother saying, "Oh, we've seen it about 20 times." So it's a film that it was really played out on the TV screen over the years as well, and it was one of the ones that everybody seemed to love. That film, Big, and of course Tom Hanks is so funny as well, and he's got a different style of comedy from a lot of people. I watched some of his skits on Saturday Night Live recently, and some of his stuff is really, really entertaining. Some of the stuff he done with the likes of Steve Martin over the years, and some of the great comedy he done with the likes of John Candy, and some of his more recent stuff. You know, his comedy back then was excellent, and of course he was the one that probably one of the driving forces behind. He was the guy behind the cowboy in Toy Story as well. He done the voice for the cowboy, Woody in Toy Story. So let's not forget that. He was instrumental in so many different parts of the media and parts of the different types of movies. He starred in the likes of Forrest Gump. I think Forrest Gump was one of his transitions was also kind of made as a comedy, but with a serious edge to it, and incorporated war and stuff as well. But the character was very funny in his own way, I suppose, because of it being him being the way he was, that character. But Tom Hanks really has transcended the genres himself, and he's a legendary star. He really is, and he's really been, you know. That recent film he was in, Captain Phillips, is absolutely off the chart. It's brilliant. Like anything he comes out with, if he comes out with a new film, everyone flocks to see it because they know it's going to be quality. Because I don't think he really signs up to anything that's going to be mediocre. He really is that good, Tom Hanks. He is in a new film now, and I am hoping to see. Actually, I don't know when you're going to watch this. It could be 2018 or something, but actually it's 2015 now. I'm going to probably see his new film Bridge of Spies tomorrow. I'm looking forward to seeing that one because it's all about I think it's based on the Cold War between Russia, the Soviet Union, and the US, and he's a spy for the FBI or the NSA or whatever in this film. So that's the kind of role he's taken on now. Of course, he was in the duo of films for about the Angels and Demons movie, and of course the Da Vinci Code movie. He was the guy, the investigator in them movies, which were very entertaining as well for that kind of thing, but totally different from the comedy genre. So he is he was top notch in Big, which really is a film that I think everyone loves that film. I definitely enjoyed it. It's all about when a boy wishes to be big and a magic wish machine, he wakes up the next morning and finds himself in an adult's body. It's directed by Penny Marshall, and it's written by Anne Spielberg and Gary Ross. Hanks is joined by Elizabeth Perkins and Robert Loggia in this particular film. Elizabeth Perkins plays the role of the female love interest to Hanks. John Lovitz also features in the film, along with John Hurd, and that's all the relatively big names in that film. Very entertaining stuff. If you haven't seen it, if you've been under a rock for the last 30 years and you haven't seen Big, I recommend you watch it. Anyway, we're going to have a look now at a clip from Big, or a trailer, and we're going to move on then and talk about Vice Versa.
For Josh Baskin, life was a little unfair.
Told you to take out the garbage. You're gonna miss the bus. I'm gonna tell you again, Josh. Joshua Baskin. Josh!
Until he made a little wish.
I wish I were big.
Sweetheart, it's 7:30. Are you up? Josh!
20th Century Fox presents Tom Hanks. Big.
I turned into a grown-up, Mom. I made this wish on a machine, and it turned me into a grown-up.
So now what?
You get a job.
Cannot get a job.
I play with all of this stuff, and then I tell them what I think.
And they pay you for that?
Suckers!
Vice President, he's only been here a week.
See that girl over there in the red? She'll wrap her legs around you so tight you'll be begging for mercy.
Well, I'll stay away from her then.
I loved your ideas on the squeezy doll line.
Thanks.
What were you like when you were younger?
Oh, well, I wasn't much different.
Eject your seat!
Who are you? I'm his girlfriend. I want to spend the night with you.
Do you mean sleep over?
Yeah.
Okay. But I get to be on top.
What is so special about Baskin?
He's a grown-up.
How do I feel about what?
How do you feel about me?
You're only young once.
This is important!
I'm your best friend. What's more important than that, huh?
But for Josh,
I miss my family, Susan, and I want to go home.
Oh my God, you're married.
it just might last a lifetime. You'll never forget Tom Hanks.
It's beluga.
In Big.
Well, that was funny stuff there. Big, starring Tom Hanks. Well, on that topic, close to that topic, very similar film, we move on now to another 1988 classic, and a film that wasn't really perceived as big, pardon the pun, but it was a big enough film in the 80s as well, in 1988, and a film that starred Fred Savage, who was very popular in other in a TV series at this time. I think it was around this time, which was The Wonder Years. Fred Savage, of course, who was the famous Kevin Arnold in the series The Wonder Years. He was a big deal around this time, and the film also features Judge Reinhold as the grown-up in the movie. Swoozie Kurtz plays the lady, the love interest in the movie. So it's a really a very diverse kind of cast in this one as well. But Judge Reinhold always comes across as a big kid type actor anyway. In most of his roles, he's kind of got that real dumb guy kind of mentality or way of going on. So it suited him to be the guy that had to change bodies, if you like, and be the big kid kind of thing. He's good at acting like that. He, of course, in Vice Versa, he's this is the kind of storyline to it. During an argument, a divorced executive and his 11-year-old son casually touch a magical Tibetan skull, releasing a mysterious power that transfers the father's mind to the body of the son, and vice versa. The pun. Therefore, their problems just begin. The film received a 5.7 in the IMDb website, and most websites, most movie websites, it gets around 6.5. Rotten Tomatoes, I think, gives it a 7. So Vice Versa, definitely. I think it, on hindsight now, it gets a slightly higher rating than Big, but at the time, the box office and all that, with the star power of Tom Hanks, the Big done a lot better. But Judge Reinhold wasn't a stranger to films himself. At this time, he had been in films such as Stripes, which was a war comedy with Bill Murray and them guys. Also, he had been in films like Beverly Hills Cop 1 and 2 with, of course, Eddie Murphy, and later on he was in Beverly Hills Cop 3. So he was no stranger to big movies. So Judge Reinhold, of course, he later went on to be in the film The Santa Claus, along with the very funny Tim Allen and a few other big names in that one. But Vice Versa, a very good film. Fred Savage didn't really do much else as far as big deals. He was in a lot of films, but he wasn't really a big name. He didn't go on to be a massive star. He was really just one of them famous kid actors that end up becoming not really so famous as an adult actor. But he definitely was pretty cool in this film, along with this guy, Judge Reinhold. The film, I would probably give it a higher score than Big. Big's kind of played out, the kind of film that's not as big. They go back to the pun. But it's kind of, I think Vice Versa is probably a lot more entertaining because it's not as played out as the other one, Big. So I'd probably choose that. If it was a 1-to-1 there, I'd probably choose Vice Versa. But the fact that, of course, Tom Hanks is always great and he's entertaining, Big is definitely up there as one of the best as far as comedy as well. So yes, indeed, Vice Versa. It actually was directed by Brian Gilbert, and it was written by Dick Clement. So indeed, yeah, interesting, funny film. Vice Versa. Let's have a look at this one.
Stop dumping on me, Dad.
I've been up since 6 and I have a very tough day ahead.
I wish I could change places with you.
Well, I wish I could too.
Inside Marshall Seymour, successful businessman, divorced father, and self-styled workaholic, beats the heart of a little boy. Because Marshall Seymour is about to become his 11-year-old son, Charlie.
Awesome!
And vice versa.
Maybe this happened all over America.
And what's gonna happen to you? You're 6'2" with the brain of an 11-year-old.
Charlie may be getting to that age.
He's losing it.
think he has a crush on me?
No way! You never told me you had to see my homeroom teacher.
You never told me what hockey practice.
What is that?
I'm in the tub, do you mind? This is the woman I couldn't live with as a husband. And now I'm gonna be her son.
I'll do anything you want, Sam.
It's not what I want. It's what we want as a unit.
She's worried about your unit, Dad.
It's a Freudian nightmare.
Judge Reinhold,
Are you all right?
Do I look all right?
Fred Savage,
I don't suppose you have any Grey Poupon.
vice versa.
What if we're stuck like this?
Oh my God. I have to go through puberty again.
Well, funny stuff there indeed, vice versa. Well, moving on now, 2 more movies to come, or to go on this first of our episodes in this comedies, 80s and 90s retro reviews from the Movie Zone. All my movie stuff on YouTube is of course titled The Movie Zone, and then the wee subtitle. So this is the 80s and 90s retro reviews, and episode 1 of 6. There's 6 planned episodes on this series leading up to Christmas. So the first, the 5th movie of today's show, and of the 6th we're going to talk about, is the first of 2 featuring a dog companion, if you like. And this one is the stars James Belushi and an Alsatian dog, a German Shepherd. Of course, it's all about a dog on the police force, along with James Belushi. It's called Canine. It's a 1989 film. To stop an elusive criminal, a maverick detective enlists the aid of a police dog who's an unusually intelligent smartack. So it's written by Steven Seagal, sorry, and it's not the Steven Seagal we all know for the martial arts movies. It's a different Steven Seagal, and it also is co-written by Scott Myers. It stars Belushi along with Mel Harris and Kevin Tighe. It's directed by Rod Daniel, and it's a funny film, funny with action. I always enjoy the movies that include animals and intelligent animals and stuff. It's always a lot of fun to watch them. It gets a 6 rating on the IMDb, 5.9 or 6 rating out of 10, and it gets around the same on most of the movie websites, or most of the major movie websites. It spawned 2 sequels, including K9 PI, and it's also spawned a sequel called K9 11 or K911. So it's 2 very good sequels. One of the sequels came in '99, the other came in 2002, 2003. So it's really done well as far as getting revenue and having the reason to put out sequels, I suppose. So the original done pretty well. Always good fun when it's James Belushi. He's got a very sarcastic style of comedy. Of course, his brother John Belushi was one of the massive stars of the 80s. He, of course, co-starred with Dan Aykroyd in the Blues Brothers movie, the original. A great family of the silver screen as far as comedies and that goes. James Belushi, of course, had been hot off the heels of the movie Red Heat, along with Arnold Schwarzenegger, just before doing this film, K9. Of course, Red Heat was out in 1988. So good stuff here in this particular film. Let's have a look at the trailer here now for K9.
They walk the mean streets of the city, protecting each and every one of us. Tough guys can't scare them. Rich men can't buy them. Absolutely nothing can stop them. Well, all almost nothing.
Hey, didn't I tell you to go before we left the station?
This is Mike Dooley.
Are you even paying attention to me?
And his new partner. Meet Officer Lewis.
This is a highly trained, vicious police star.
But he's peculiar from time to time.
What kind of animal eats chili?
He's a lover.
This kind loves cops.
You got 10 minutes. Kill.
He's a rebel.
Don't you ever pull anything like that again.
He's amazing.
I can't believe all that came out of one animal.
Look, let's get one thing straight. The woman is mine.
He's a hit in high society. But when he goes undercover, he has his own way of making a collar.
Hey, how about that pup, huh? I need a real dog. Benji. Did you see how he found all those cubs?
They're the two toughest cops in town. One's just a little smarter than the other. James Belushi in K9.
Great stuff there, folks. That was K9, starring James Belushi, of course. So we've covered 5 great films there on this show so far. We're going to cover one more now, and this one is a film that stars, once again, Tom Hanks. We're going with Tom Hanks now once again, and this one stars Tom Hanks along with the St. Bernard dog. It's a very funny film indeed. This one is called Turner and Hooch, and it was a very big deal when it was out. It's a 1989 movie, same as K9. So isn't that interesting that the films about the growing up and the small the young person in the grown up's body, the 2 movies about that kind of thing was in 88, and now the 2 movies about the guy and the dog are in 89. So obviously different. When you look at that, it means the likes of Universal is going head to head with the likes of Paramount or whatever. The studios are going head to head on similar types of movies, similar to what we get with a lot of different things in entertainment. The 2 brands going head to head, Pepsi, Coke, or whatever, and the rest, WCW, WWE, all the rest of them different things. You always have head to head. You always get competition in entertainment. Turner and Hooch, of course, starred Tom Hanks. It also features Mare Winningham. It also featured Greg Nielsen. No real big names in it apart from Tom Hanks. It's written by Michael Blodgett and Dennis Shryack, and it was directed by Roger Spotswood. It gets a 6 out of 10 in the ratings from IMDb. It gets a 6. It got a 7 on a couple of other sites, but it's usually around a 6 with the major movie websites. Turner and Hooch, it definitely would be up there, I would say, with Tom Hanks' star power. In 89 now, Tom Hanks was a massive star, but he was a bigger star probably than he was in the other film we mentioned him in. This is a year on now from his role as the guy in the other film, which was Big. And, these 2 films, Turner and Hooch and Big, you kind of think of them both when you're thinking of Tom Hanks in his younger days. Of course, them 2, along with Splash and Volunteers, the movie he done with John Candy, them 4 movies were all very pivotal in his rise to stardom. Then, of course, he was in films such as The Money Pit and other comedies such as The Red Shoe or something like that, but very funny stuff throughout the late 80s for Tom Hanks that really got him noticed then, and they put him in more serious movies then as time went on. But Turner and Hooch, very, very funny stuff, and not much else to say, folks. Here's a clip from Turner and Hooch.
Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on, Hooch. Come on. Come. Wait a whoa! Hooch! Hooch! No! Stop! Stop! Hooch! Hooch! Stop! No! Oh. Ah! Oh! Ow! I'll kill you! No! Hooch!
What are you doing to this dog?
Oh, just take him for a walk!
Well, he's bleeding. My God, how long has he been bleeding?
Not long enough! You!
Come here.
I'll kill you!
Hey, now I have a front door, you.
I'll shoot you, Hooch!
Well, you stay
I'll
there.
shoot you,
just
Hooch.
stay right there.
Hey, fix him up so I can shoot him! Oh.
All done. You stay. What's your dog's name?
His name's Hooch.
Great stuff there from Turner and Hooch. That the big St. Bernard, very messy kind of dog, isn't it? Very funny there. But anyway, right now we're going to just really recover things here now. Some great films there we've covered on this episode, and really makes you appreciate the library of films that you have to watch. But some of the stuff we covered on last year's retro movies of the 80s, the comedies of the 80s, and now we will look at some more excellent movies this year, as in this month on the lead up to Christmas, and we'll have an episode dedicated to Christmas clips as well, because we're going to put in a few Christmas clips in one of the episodes to have that little Christmas special. But the other episodes, there's 5 episodes still to come in this series, and the next ones we're going to have a wee look now at some of the stuff coming up in this particular series. As we fold down this particular first episode, we as this one was, of course, the weird comedies, out there kind of comedies. We're not going to leave it at that. There's going to be a lot more weird type comedies on the way in this series, but this is the stuff we're going to have in the next episode. In the next episode, we're going to be covering animal comedies, and these ones will be more comedies that include animals in the kind of cast. You know, like one of them in particular will be Every Which Way But Loose, or Every Which Way But something like that. I'm going to have to look into that one, but it was a famous one from the early 80s with Clint Eastwood and a monkey, which was very funny as well. And there's another one that includes a monkey, and it's called Dunstan Checks In, and that was an early 90s movie that included orangutan, and there's some great ones that include monkeys, and there's some good films which include other dogs, other dogs in movies and stuff, and always fun to look at them type of films. So we're going to put together 5 or 6 of them type movies, have a look at them on the next episode. The episode after that, I'm going to look at teen comedies. We're going to look at the famous Brat Pack, the one that included stars such as Emilio Estevez, Rob Lowe, Molly Ringwald, Demi Moore, Andrew McCarthy, and people such as Anthony Michael Hall, and all them guys. Of course, Robert Downey Jr. was kind of part of the Brat Pack. Of course, in the news lately, Charlie Sheen was in the Brat Pack. Of course, he is a brother of Emilio Estevez, as you all know. Also, people such as I don't know who they. I would know them all if they were written in front of me, but that was most of them anyway, the big members of the Brat Pack. So they've done a lot of big movies together back in the 80s as the teen stars of Hollywood. They used to name them the Brat Pack because they were like renting hotels, and they were wrecking the place and stuff, and they were going around in suits and stuff, and they were known as the Brat Pack as a kind of play on the Rat Pack. Of course, the original Rat Pack was Sammy Davis Jr. and Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin, all them guys. But This was a play on the Rat Pack 20 years later. It was the Brat Pack in the 1980s. So they've done a lot of great films, such as St. Elmo's Fire. They've done a film, The Breakfast Club, 16 Candles, along with loads of other great movies in the late 80s, the mid to late 80s. So that's the second episode. I'll be concentrating on that particular series of films. Of course, John Hughes done a lot of them movies. He directed them. Then, of course, we'll have a look at the franchises. Of course, the franchises, and that what I mean is movies that spawned a good few sequels. So we'll have a look at them movies, and we'll have a look at the different genres, or the different franchises, and for example, the Police Academy franchise, and we'll talk about the films from the Police Academy, as well as films such as The Naked Gun, and film franchises such as the so many. I haven't got them already. I still have to put them shows together. But and then the last of them will be the spoofs. Well, the Christmas we'll have the Christmas episode, and then we'll have the spoofs. And the spoofs episode will be looking at films such as Loaded Weapon, which was a play on Lethal Weapon. Other films such as the spoof movies like Young Frankenstein, and other spoof movies such as Blazing Saddles. So some great stuff in there. A lot of them made by Mel Brooks. Of course, Spaceballs is another one, very funny film. So yeah, the spoofs one will be a good episode. But that is the retro reviews series of the 80s and 90s, and it's all coming your way on CKTV on YouTube over the next month leading up to Christmas. You know, that's what it's all about. It's good fun, and it's right here with the Coaster on CKTV. And I've been here, you've been there, whatever year it is. It could be any time in the future because it's on YouTube. It's there for you to see anytime on demand. But enjoy the shows, folks, and tune in, tune out, do whatever you want. Subscribe, like, do whatever you want. It's your choice. And I'm out of here. I'm going to catch a train to God knows where, folks. This has been the Coaster for YouTube CKTV. See y'all later, folks. Coaster over and out.